saved by Golden State. Curry the fake in the feed. Green the screen. Got it from... Oh, look at this! Up high and Green down hard. Thompson with a great feed.
Part of an 11-2 run late for the Golden State Warriors. A pretty play in the middle of a night that featured a couple of ugly moments for star players. End result, Warriors get the win and take a 2-0 lead in their best-of-7 second-round series with the Houston Rockets. Post-game coverage has begun here on NBA TV with coaches Vogel and Fratello. I'm Matt Weiner. Good to have you with us. The officiating thing, basically a dud tonight, right? It was kind of a non-story for the most part. The biggest story of the night was injuries to two star players, two MVPs in the NBA, who went out within minutes of each other. Steph Curry dislocated the middle finger on his left hand, had to leave the game in the first quarter. A few minutes later, James Harden was poked in the left eye. He had to exit as well. Both wound up finishing the game, but it's just hard to say what's going to happen here as the series goes on and how those injuries are going to play out.
If there is one good thing, it's the fact that they don't play again until, what, Saturday?
Saturday, right.
So they've got 3 full days to get some rest and recovery.
Yeah, but it did give the game a strange complexion. You know, all throughout the game, you're wondering if Steph is impacted by his hand injury, and clearly you could see James's eyes were red and probably bothering him as well.
Right, Curry came back with his 2 fingers taped together to protect that dislocation. And you see Harden get poked right there by Draymond Green. And as Coach Vogel said, for the rest of the night, you could see him blinking and squinting and shading his eyes. And every time there was a close-up when he was at the free throw line or somewhere else where he was stationary, you could see a red blotch on his eye. And there's just no telling how it's going to react over the next couple of days.
Yeah, you don't know, and it was very reminiscent of LeBron James in the finals last year, who had a similar type of incident that impacted one of his games.
In terms of what happened on the floor tonight, Golden State, wasn't overwhelming offensively. They shot 46%. They hit 11 threes, not on a great percentage. What was working for them tonight, Coach?
I thought they played with high energy and they moved the basketball. They found open people. Houston shot itself in the foot a little bit by turning the basketball over 18 times, which led to 24 points. And you turn it over against Golden State, without looking, you probably know their fast break numbers are pretty high. And their numbers tend to be higher than most people because when they fast break, they end it with a 3,
right,
not a layup or a 2.
And they cut down on their own turnovers as well, which is, at their worst, that is a problem for them. They had 20 in game 1, and they limited that number to 12 tonight.
Yeah, much more efficient offensively. They played through the post with KD with him scoring as the last option. Every time the ball goes in the post with Golden State, they're going to explore 3, 4, 5 cuts before the post player even thinks about scoring. And, they got some easy buckets at the rim, got some open threes out of the post, okay? And when that was guarded well, KD goes to work one-on-one.
It's kind of interesting when you look at this box score and you notice that field goal attempts at the end of the games. 91 for Golden State, just 77 for Houston. That's a combination of the difference in turnovers and 18 offensive rebounds for Golden State. Do you want to play around and give Golden State that many more shots against you?
18 offensive rebounds is a huge, huge number.
They did seem throughout the game to be first to the loose balls, right? And that was throughout the game. There was a couple runs that were sparked by offensive rebounds by Golden State, and you see the rebounding totals at the end.
All right, getaway night for the Rockets, and Mike D'Antoni has gotten himself to the microphone in Oakland.
Kelly Go, the Athletic Coach, with the series being this tight, is it going to come down to the things like offensive rebounds, turnovers, loose balls, and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, it usually always does. Tonight, especially in the first half, we had way too many turnovers. We had 14 turnovers and cost us 20 points. Took care of the ball the second half, and right there. So there's some things we can do. We can adjust some situations that we didn't do a real good job tonight. Not as good as they did, and I just thought we showed a lot of heart with a lot of diversity on the floor. Didn't give up, and they did what they're supposed to do. They won their 2 home games. Now, if we're good enough, we'll win our 2 home games and come back here for Game 5. But obviously, we're going to have to play a little bit better.
Anthony Slater with The Athletic. How big a problem is what Draymond Green's doing right now as a small ball center?
Well, it's always a problem. I mean, he's an all-star for a reason, and he's really good, and kind of a point guard at the center or a forward position, and you know he plays well. He's a heck of a player.
Mark Berman from Fox Houston. Could you talk about how James played second half? What you thought about what he went through after getting the injury?
Oh, he fought through some stuff. I mean, the guy, you know, looked like he was, you know, not in great shape the first half. I think it might have cleared up a little bit, but he got raked pretty good in the eyes. And but that's him. I mean, I didn't have a doubt he's coming back unless it was something catastrophic. So I'm sure he would have loved to play better, but under the circumstances, I thought he played great. And you know, we had our chances down toward the end. We were on 3 or 4 down, and they made big plays. We just didn't get it done.
Jonathan Fagan, Houston Chronicle. In that stretch you just alluded to, you're within 3, and then they score on about 4 or 5 straight possessions. Is it just their excellence, or are there things that you wanted to correct there that gave up some of those shots?
It's always a little bit of both. Kevin Durant one-on-one is, you know, one of the best scorers the league's ever seen, and he made some shots. I thought that overall we did a good job. It's like, you know, if we have it back, it's like 4 or 5 plays that we just have to be more solid. We laid on the screen, or they got threes, right? And we just got to do a better job, and we will. And like I said, we'll have to adjust some of the things that we do down the stretch and try to take the ball out of his hands. But you know, this is against a good team, good players, and they played well.
Colin Ward Henninger, CBSSports.com. Anytime a superstar goes out, it's obviously more difficult, but for the load that James carries for you guys, what's it like during those minutes when he's out and you're not sure if he's going to come back?
Well, it's tough sledding. I mean, you know, a lot of what we do, but at the same time, I thought we did a good job of kind of righting the ship and give us a chance toward the end. It just means, you know, Chris and Eric and those guys got to play a lot more minutes, but I thought we overcame that pretty well, as a matter of fact.
Wes Goldberg with Forbes. Was there an effort to get Clint Capella involved in the second half a little bit more than in the first half?
No, we do the same thing every time. And if they guard us a certain way, where James and Chris feel that he's more open or whatever, they're just reading the play. And there's no, you know, it's not, we don't target people. We have plays, we run them, and whoever's open just got to read it. And could be him, could be Eric, could be Gerald, or could be Austin. Whoever's open gets it, and they got to make a play.
Any other questions?
John Dickinson, 95.7 The Game. Mike, what do you think of the way the Warriors have defended the lob game, in particular with Capella? What have they done that's made that problematic for you guys?
Well, they're good at it because Draymond comes, he fakes it and goes back to Clint, and you know, we probably have to go a little bit stronger to the rim and finish. You know, they're smart. They play the in-between game pretty well, and Draymond's probably arguably the best defensive player in the league, and he's smart. And you know, sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. But again, you know, there are some things that we can do, and we'll see on Saturday. So. Obviously, for us, that's the game. That's the whole. You know, we got to go after Saturday.
Coach up the back, Martin Rogers, USA Today. Did you feel there was more clarity and consistency with how the game was called tonight? Obviously, there's a lot less questions about it.
Yeah, you know, again, it's, you know, these are good refs. They were good refs last game, and you know, we just had a few problems on a couple of plays, but these guys are good, and you know, that didn't determine they didn't determine anything. They just called the game the way it was, and it's good.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
So Mike D'Antoni had roughly the same take on the officiating tonight as we did. They didn't determine anything, and that's good news because we can stop talking about it between now and Game 3 on Saturday. Here's the way Game 2 played out. Steph Curry slaps down going for the steal and dislocates the middle finger on his left hand. You see him try to make the play defensively and then immediately looks at it and it's obviously stung him, and he would leave the game for a short period of time. Shortly thereafter, James Harden gets injured as Draymond Green catches him in the face and in the eye in particular. Watch that hand right there. Ugh. Laceration on the left eyelid, and he would leave the game to return in the second quarter. Draymond comes over to say, "My bad," and Harden would return. Steph's back in the game. Draymond Green showing off the strength. He's flexing. Curry back in there. Did you guys see any obvious effects in terms of ball handling or anything?
Not really. You know, I thought there was, one or two plays where he didn't have a rhythm coming on a left to right crossover into his jump shot, but it didn't seem to affect him too much.
And here comes Harden back in the game, bloodshot eyes and all, and he can still make his way to the rim.
Well, he had Steph in front of him, which is not the greatest challenge.
No, and Steph also dealing with foul trouble in game one, trying to avoid that. He eventually found his way into foul trouble in game two. Klay Thompson for three there. It's a 13-point lead. Just before halftime, Harden for three, 12 in the quarter. All his scoring after the injury, and it was a 9-point Golden State lead. Warriors heat up from outside the arc. Durant, and then Klay Thompson. One more from Klay. Draymond Green running interference for him on the screen. And Thompson with that one tied Manu Ginobili for fourth all-time on the postseason three-pointers made list. Finished with 21 on the night. To the fourth, Rockets. Every time it seemed like Golden State was about to finish them off, they'd come right back.
I give them credit for hanging in there. They took about 3 or 4 different classic Golden State haymaker runs, and they kept hanging in the game, gave themselves a chance late.
Harden finished with 29 on the night. They're within 3. That happened a couple of different times late. Steph, 4-3. Only 3 of 13 from out there, and he finished with 20. Iguodala on the alley-oop, and then Klay Thompson to Dre. Green, 15 points, 12 boards. Late, Durant. 29 on the night to go with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. That's an off night for him lately, offensively. And James Harden has 3 days rest to try to get treatment on that eye and try to scratch in this series, now down 0-2. Here's head coach Steve Kerr.
Hey Steve, Phil Barber, Press Democrat. Early in the game, when the three-pointers weren't falling, how important especially was the offensive rebounding and just the effort that you guys were putting forward?
Yeah, I thought we played really hard. Right from the beginning, we forced a lot of turnovers and got to the loose balls, got some rebounds. So even though the threes weren't going, we were playing well. We were making strides, putting a lot of pressure on them. So it was a good start to the game.
Stand up, left-hand side.
Steve, Jason Dumas, Crown 4. Especially with last series when you dropped 2 of 3 at Oracle, how important was it to take care of business here at home, especially with a matchup like this?
Well, I mean, this is always what you want to do. When you've got home court, if you can get the first 2, it puts you in good shape. But with the awareness that you're just getting started. Nothing has happened yet. So we got to go down to Houston and be ready to play because we know how good they are. We know how hard they're going to play.
Third row, left-hand side.
Steve, Tim Kawakami, The Athletic. Steph's finger, did it look bad there? And did you maybe notice that he was having a little trouble dribbling with his left hand? Do you have any concerns moving forward with that?
It looked bad when he came off the floor. I mean, I looked at the finger and I was just hoping it was just a dislocation and not a break. And fortunately, that's what it turned out to be. As far as whether it bothered him, you can ask him that. I thought he did some great things for us and fueled us, and may not have shot the 3 that well, but played a great game for us.
Second row, left-hand side here.
Hey Steve, Mark Medina, Bay Area News Group. In light of what was happening in Game 1 about the conversation with the officiating, what do you think how the guys handled all those things tonight?
I didn't even notice the officiating. I don't think anybody did, and I think that's the best compliment you can give them. They did a great job, and this game was just about basketball.
Several rows back, center.
Hi, Steve. Janie McCauley from AP. As much emphasis as you've put on, taking care of the ball, how much did you like? You guys cut the turnovers down a lot.
Yeah, we did a really good job with that. Only 12 for the game, 3 of them in the last couple of minutes, which was a little disappointing, but we escaped. We've got to do a better job of protecting the ball. Both games now we've had a little bit of a problem there, but all in all, to finish the game with 12 turnovers to their 18, 18 offensive boards. So we won the possession battle. Got 14 more field goal attempts in them, so that's a big deal. So our guys did a great job.
Fifth row, right-hand side.
Steve, Ron Krojcik from the Chronicle. Can you articulate sort of what makes Draymond so good at that lob pass? It's sort of it seems like a short alley-oop to Iguodala or Looney or whomever. He's done it a lot, obviously, throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, well, he's grown so comfortable playing that high screen with Steph, and with the amount of attention Steph gets, sometimes Draymond gets that ball in the pocket and it's 4-on-3, and with the lineup with Andre out there with 2 shooters on the wings, it puts a lot of stress on the defense, and Draymond has great touch on that lob pass, so it's fun to see when they connect like that.
Fourth row, left-hand side.
Steve, Joe Fonzie, KTVU. You guys have had times when you weren't thrilled with the defensive intensity to start a game. You forced 9 turnovers in the first quarter. You had to be happy with the way it came out.
Defensive intensity right away was great. I was really pleased with our first quarter. I thought the Rockets did a great job kind of hanging in there, especially when James got hurt and missed some time. But, I think this is how this series is going to go. We can play well, but it's going to be really hard to pull away from Houston with the number of threes they take and the number of talented offensive players they have. So, despite that quick start, we were fighting them off the whole game. They made 17 threes, so it's a hell of a win against a great team that shot the ball really well from the three-point line.
Second row, left-hand side here.
Art Spander, the Maven. You had mentioned Andre at age 35 playing so well. He seemed to come out really fast this game and give you that burst to sort of take control.
Yeah, Andre is, he doesn't look 35 to me. He's just an incredible athlete. And what makes Andre special is, when you combine that athleticism with that brain, now you got a hell of a player. So I say it all the time. I'm lucky to coach him. We're lucky to have him. He ties up a lot of loose ends for us. He does so many things for us, and I thought he was brilliant tonight.
Steve, you go with Jerebko. I know it was early because of Steph's injury, but you definitely did you have a plan to get Jerebko in there, and how did you think you did when you gave him those minutes?
Yeah, I think Jonas is a good matchup in this series. I think he came right in and gave us a good lift, a couple buckets and some rebounds, and so we were planning on getting him in there at some point, but Steph's early injury allowed us to plug him in pretty early, and I thought he was great.
Fourth, fifth row, right-hand side.
I guess that's me, Shelley Smith from ESPN. Have you ever played after getting poked in the eye?
No.
Okay, never mind then.
All right.
Left-hand side.
It's tough to get poked in the eye when you're on the bench cheering, so I was usually just cheering the guys on. I think one time my teammate kind of elbowed me. Kind of hurt. Yeah.
Joe Morgan, Sporting News. Steve, you guys have really taken away the lobs for Capella. How important has that been for you guys just defensively, and have you guys really put an emphasis on that?
It's a big deal. He's tough to handle on that rim run because of the talent in the backcourt with Chris and James, especially throwing that lob to him. I thought Draymond and Kevin in particular both did a great job. Clay made a huge play late by coming over from the weak side. I've said it before the series. It has to be a 5-man game when you play Houston to guard them. You got to have all 5 guys engaged. So our weak side came over and did a good job tonight.
Second row center.
Hi, Steve. Carlos Ramirez, Telemundo 48 here in the Bay Area. Steph again had 5 fouls, and Kevin did too. What did you see of their game defensively? They seemed solid, but they were not contesting as much as or reaching in as you wanted to. How do you see them play today?
They were both great. I mean, the foul trouble is what it is. There's some tough ones. We're playing a very crafty team that knows how to draw fouls. Steph got himself in a couple of awkward positions and picked up a couple that changed our rotation on the third quarter. So our guys did a good job playing through that, and I'm confident that we can get Steph to correct that and stay on the floor when we need him out there.
Third row center.
Hi, Steve. Chuck Nevius, Santa Rosa Press Democrat. You jumped into this series very quickly after the Clippers series, and then these 2 games are pretty quick also. I was wondering if this would be the game you would be concerned about fatigue, and if you're really, because you had a rest after this. So was that a concern?
Not really. I was more worried about game 1 just because of the 2 injuries with Steph and Clay. When we made it through game 1 in good shape, I felt much better about coming into tonight, and now we've got a few days off, which I think will really help our guys. So we're in good shape, but long way to go.
2 more. Second.
Steve, what was your view on the double technical with Draymond?
Well, the problem with the double tech is that it's added to the total, which can lead to a suspension. And so if 2 guys, it's a competitive atmosphere out there. It's a playoff game, so guys are going to get tangled up. And, if the way to handle it is to call it double technical, I think the league needs to consider that. And I just, every time there's a double, there's an altercation, it's a double technical. Well, if you're playing in the playoffs for a few rounds, those add up. So Draymond's now at 4, I think. So, we'll talk to the league and we'll see if they'll rescind it. And I'm sure, the process will go as usual, and we'll see what happens.
Sixth row center, last one.
Steve, with Durant coming out of the gates, taking the charge against Harden, and then getting the block shortly thereafter, how important was that setting a tone defensively from the tip?
Yeah, Kevin was great. I mean, right away, picking up Capella in the lane on a roll, forcing a travel, drawing the charge, as you mentioned. I thought his defensive energy was fantastic right away, and he was, he's Kevin, so he's going to score. We know he's going to score, but he does so much more to impact the game. It's the block shots, the rebounds, the assists. So he's an amazing player.
Great,
thanks.
Thank you. Draymond is on his way in here right now.
Much more post-game coverage coming up here as the Warriors take a 2-0 lead, 115-109. We're not certain if we'll hear from James Harden, but if he makes it to the microphone, we'll bring it to you.